What is demographics? Demographics is the statistical data of a population, especially those showing average age, income, education, etc. So then, a demographic crisis is a situation where the population of a territory or the world is not sustainable. One kind of demographic crisis is overpopulation. Another one is a demographic crunch. This is when many developed countries have birth rates too low to sustain their own population. On this video, we are going to focus on four different cases: Italy, Japan, Germany, and France. Japan is facing an unprecedented meltdown in population. After peaking in 2010 at 128 million, the country's population has eased back to 126 million and it will continue to decline. Its population is set to shrink by 0.4% annually, with the decrease expected to accelerate to 1.0% annually by 2040s. By 2050, Japan will have 23% fewer citizens. Not since the Great Plagues of the Middle Ages have we seen population collapses of this magnitude, nor does it stop in mid-century. Demographers see current trends persisting to the end of the century, when Japan's population falls to 50 million, only 40% of its all-time high. Also, Japan's fertility rate nowadays has dropped to 1.46 babies per woman, compared to 2.76 in 1970. This means that there are a lot less kids than there were in the past, and then the future is being compromised because the lack of children in Japan.
Hi, I'm Fernando Figueroa, and I'm going to talk about the demographic crisis in Germany. The German census, the information of the last year, reached the 80.2 million individuals, and according to the official estimations, the country might lose between 7 and 13 million persons from here to 2060. The German economy throws in lack qualified workers that it cannot find between his inhabitants. The hand lack cost him to Germany approximately 22 million euros per year. In spite of the country of the Chancellor Angela Merkel seems to be far from suffering difficulties to choose of the countries most affected by the economic crisis. The certain thing is that in the middle class, Germany has to fight with other threats. The German population, who according to the information of the last census, reached 80.2 individuals. It's inevitable. According to information of the last fall, elaborated by the web page specialized in statistics, Länder Eastern Germans, Thuringia or Saxony have seen in the last 3 periods how practically there has doubled his 65-year-old major population. In 1990, 12% of the population of Brandenburg was major of 65 years. The percentage now is 22% now. The land with major proportion of population with top age at the age of 65 is Saxony. There one of every 4 inhabitants overcomes this age. In 1990, this Saxon group was representing 50% of the population. In German government, this problematic demographic trend start worrying it will do a decade. But at the moment, they have not met on measures that offset the aging of the country. In fact, from the statistics, they aim that in 2013 there were in Germany 689,000 births. At the time that 893,000 deaths were registered. Thanks.
The population of Italy will decrease by 7 million over the next 50 years, according to the National Statistic Agency ISTAT. Currently, an estimated 60.7 million call the country home, but the statisticians expect the number to drop to 58.6 million over the next 30 years and to 53.7 million by 2065. Of course, a lot could happen over the coming decades to affect the country's birth and death rates, as well as immigration figures, but ISTAT predicts that there is only a 7% chance that the national population will increase by 2065. The agency estimates range from a minimum of 46.1 million to a maximum of 61.5. The most likely scenario, STAT believes, is that the southern and island regions will see a steady decrease in population over the next 50 years. Meanwhile, the population of the more prosperous center north is only expected to decrease from 2045 onwards by 2065. There's a 31% chance that the central northern population will have increased from today's number, while in the south, the probability is close to zero. The center north is already more populated than the south, and this trend is projected to become even more marked. Currently, 66% of people live in the center north and 34% in the southern. An island region by 2065, the ratio is likely to shift to 70.29. But what are the factors behind these expected changes? For starters, life expectancy will increase. Today, a baby born in Italy has an average life expectancy of 80.1 years if male and 85.6 years in female. But those babies' grandchildren, if born in 2065, will likely be expected to live 86.1 or 90.2 years, depending again on their gender. Italy's Italy's low birth rate, which hit a record low this year, is also predicted to see an increase, but that won't be enough to balance out an annual death leading to the projected population decline. Another factor which will have an important impact on demographic changes, but which is particularly hard to predict, is international migration. Stats experts predict that net migration will remain positive, meaning higher numbers of people will come to Italy than leave the country.
The, dego- the demography of France is monitored by the Institut National d'Etudes Démographiques and the Institut National de la Statistique des Études Économiques. October 1, 2017, 67.15 million people live in the French Republic, including all the five overseas departments, but excluding the overseas collective and territories. In March 2017, the population of France officially reached the 67 million mark. The 66 million mark was reached in the beginning of the 2014. Between the years 2010 and 2017, the population of France grew from 64,613 million to 66,991 million, about 2.4 million people in a span of 7 years, making France one of the fastest growing countries in Europe. The population of France is growing by 1 million people every 3 years in average annual increase of 340,000 people or plus 0.6%. France was historically Europe's most populous nation. During the Middle Ages, more than one quarter of Europe's total population was French. By the 17th century, this had decreased to one-fifth. By the beginning of the 20th century, other European nations such as Germany and Russia had caught up and overtaken it. However, the country's population sharply increased with the baby boom following World War II. According to INSEE, since 2004, 2,100 immigrants entered the country annually. One, one out of two was born in Europe and one in three in Africa. Between 2009 and 2012, the number of Europeans entering France increased sharply, plus 2,000% per year on average. The national birth rate, after dropping for a time, began to rebound in the 90s, and currently the country's fertility rate is close to the replacement level. According to a 2006 INSEE study, the natural increase is close to 300,000 people, a level that has not been reached in more than 30 years.